boundaries. And so we want to implore all involved and the police and the council to assist us in working together to establish community relationships so that we will be safe going in and persons will feel safe and secure coming to access our services. In respect of the zone of special operations in Mount Salem, we continue to participate in the work for the social intervention initiatives that are being conducted in this area. Mr. Wallace would have made mention of our rodent control program, and we also participated in the recent concert, although the inclement weather would have affected the turnout, but we collaborated with the Violence Prevention Alliance and JCBC for a Bring Back the Love concert on Sunday. We will be moving towards conducting physical activity sessions as well as through the National Family Planning Board, a hold on, hold off campaign targeting our youth. Mr. Chairman, I want to bring to your attention the epidemic of non-communicable diseases that is affecting us. We recently had an annual review of non-communicable diseases, and we looked at what was happening with hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and cancers. Unfortunately for us in St. James, our control for diabetes is only at the level of 37% of our clients, and for hypertension, 39.3%. And so we want to look at greater initiatives that help us to emphasize the need for behavior change to healthier lifestyles, to conduct screening for early identification of diseases, to provide universal health access to ensure prompt treatment and reduction of complications from all these diseases. And as I look around and I see all our men, you wonder, have you had yourself adequately screened for high blood pressure, diabetes, prostate cancer, and the likes? Our women, we want to encourage the similar screening to take place. And finally, Mr. Chairman, our environmental health concerns. The Public Health Inspectorate would have done a mammoth task in the recent post-disaster surveillance activities that we conducted to ensure that food safety was maintained, and so those food establishments which would have been closed were inspected, monitored, and then returned to service when we thought it was fit. But we continue our patrol, and we urge the Council for the two particular institutions that are under the corporation's control that remain in breach of the public health regulations to have those matters addressed. And I speak of the Charles Gordon Market and the Old Shoe Market. I am sure that corporation is aware of the situation and have started to make efforts to correct it, but we urge that these measures be expedited. I thank you.
Thank you, MOH, for that comprehensive report. You have certainly asked some pertinent questions of us, and I hope everybody is thinking about it. Can I have a motion to revert to municipal matters? Well, thank you. Municipal matters.
Regarding an issue where what a vote was taken in the last council meeting,
What page is that?
page 262 to page 2683. And I would ask of the secretary manager if the matter has been actioned or not actioned. And
What's the subheading?
it's traveling?
Okay, payment of traveling for councillors.
Yes.
Okay.
And I am asking if the matter has been actioned as the decision of the council. Last council meeting. Because in respect to yours truly, it has not been actioned. And I have not been given the proper reason why a decision of this council has not been carried through. So that's the first, and once I get the answer, then I will go on to another aspect of it.
Okay, CEO, could you respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The issue here, Mr. Chairman, concerns Councillor from the Montgomery North Division making a request.
No,
Oh, Northeastern, Northeastern.
On a point of order.
What's the point?
On a point of order.
Yes?
It refers to all councillors. It doesn't refer to any particular council. So I ask Mr. Lee to stick to what is going on. Minute.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Chairman, on the matter of all councillors, I would report that
Yes.
we're talking about the decision. I would report that all councillors, with the exception of the councillor from the Montego Bay Northeastern Division, have been paid the traveling to which is mentioned here on the records. The councillor for the Northeastern Division has not been paid because what he was requesting of us was...
No. It's not the council was requesting a decision of the council was taken. A decision was taken. Why has not the decision been honored? That is the
question.
issue. That is a simple issue. A decision is taken. So the decision of the council, which is the policy of the council, was taken.
Okay.
So
Could you please speak to that?
Mr. Chairman, that's what I was trying to speak before as I was disturbed. Anyway, I continue to say the decision that was taken is a decision which is in conflict with our standard operating procedures because it is not in keeping with controls that are established throughout the municipality, and controls which requires us to ensure integrity in our system, and control which allows us to conform with generally accounting principles and international accounting standards that are adopted by the municipal corporation and that are practiced throughout all the municipalities, and systems that we are expected to abide by based on standards and systems that are set up by our auditing departments and by other regulatory bodies.
Does that satisfy?
No, it doesn't. Mr. Chairman, I am asking of Mr. Lee to present, because if it's a standard operating procedure, it must be written somewhere. and I referred to on the last occasion a document which they made mention of, which is from the Ministry of Finance and Planning, dated June 10, 2013, that is headed Revised Instructions Motor Vehicle Travel Allowance.
Right.
What they are requesting is not written, documented nowhere. And you don't come and fabricate things out of your head and then come here and say that that is what it's a containing a document from the ministry. That is one. The second thing is that what I want to find out is whether the issue or non-issue of a request which is not contained in the ministry document that they said it would have been contained in, whether they have made any payment to anyone who is not so entitled to a payment. Whether the administration, meaning Mr. Lee, meaning the Director of Finance, and anybody that falls under their portfolio, have made any payment to of traveling to anyone, whether they have inquired, investigated, determined that everyone to whom they made payment was so lawfully entitled. And if, let me hear the answer to that. Because if it is not so, and they did not inquire and do their due diligence, then I'm going to be asking for appropriate sanctions to be brought against whoever. Meaning to say, the only persons who are entitled to claim traveling are persons who would have traveled in a particular manner. Meaning, and it is written in the relevant guidelines, written, and not going off for anything that is not written. But when you come out to traveling, you must have driven. And it is that sometimes some persons may travel together. There is a particular outline in the staff orders as to how that is to be dealt with. So, let me hear if they did their due diligence and inquiries in respect to everybody who can claim enforcement.
Mr. Chairman, it's unfortunate that, this matter has to be brought out in the public for a resolution.
Nothing wrong with it.
And
public
business. I think it is unfair. I think it's unfair for us to be arguing without understanding the context.
Mr. Lee,
public business we're talking about.
I do believe that it's a financial matter, and I think we should take it when we have our administration meeting.
No, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm not putting up with that today. The matter is on the minutes, and they came here with some frivolous request. A decision was taken, the decision must be honored. It wouldn't have to go no place else. And if it has to go any place else, I am going to ask for a bigger request. So, make we decide how we're going to deal with it.
Councillor Sinclair.
Let us decide how we're going to deal with it.
Councillor Sinclair, I do agree with you that it's on the minutes.
A decision
but since it's a financial matter,
a decision was, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to show you why it doesn't matter. The issue, the right of protection of the matter, things that would be in finance, which are sensitive, is because it may relate to whatever. Truth matter is a financial matter. We talk about it today. Truth matter is a financial matter. So, and the matter that I'm speaking about is going to mirror it. Because if you don't do due diligence, the relevant administrative persons who are to do their due diligence and anybody was paid or collected without the due diligence being done, then that is also corruption, which is what we spoke about. So, guess what? It is not any different from Council Troops matter and Karima Hudson.
Mr. Chairman, could you allow me just to say, all right. The issue is, Mr. Chairman, that all officers of the Municipal Corporation are issued at the expense of the government of Jamaica. Officers and councillors are issued with a diary. The reason a diary is issued to these officers is to facilitate traveling. Could you allow me to finish? To facilitate record of traveling and other matters having to do with the execution of your duty as an officer. There are standards. There are financial standards, there are legal standards, there are ethical standards, and there are also auditing standards and professional standards. One of our professional standards, one of our auditing standards, controls that are employed by the Municipal Corporation is that when an officer travels, it is recorded in a diary, and when a claim is presented for payment, we check the diary against the claim, and it is signed off by the auditor's department, the auditing department, so as to prevent, may I finish, so as to prevent another claim being made. I'm not saying that another claim cannot be made, but if and when the officer comes with a claim for traveling on that particular date, it would have already been included in the diary and would have already been checked by the auditor. So it provides a kind of control to allow us to monitor where and when traveling occurs. A diary was issued to all councillors, and all we say to the councillor, write in your diary the day and where you travel to and the mileage or kilometer. That's all we ask of the officer. And when you make the claim, you present the diary, and we simply check the diary and approve the claim. All councillors have complied with such requirement, with the exception of the councillor from the Montego Bay Northeastern Division. And it is not an expensive request. It only requires a pen, and we can also provide a pen if the councillor needs a pen. May I finish?
Mr. Chairman, on a point of order. No, Mr. Chairman, on a point of order. Mr. Lee is seeking to be frivolous.
No, I am not. I think you are.
No.
Mr. Lee is seeking to be frivolous. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lee is seeking to be frivolous. He's being frivolous now, and not into the frivolity today. Right? You see, because you're going on that road, I am putting again the communication from the Ministry of Finance, the communication from the Ministry of Finance, which sets out about traveling claims and what is to be submitted. And I am asking, Mr. Chairman, I am asking Mr. Lee, if that is what he is relying on to talk about control. Persons have submitted diary. Persons have submitted a diary. And they are not, based on the guidelines, entitled to receive no travel. So if it's a diary that is an issue to them, which they are talking about a control, that means that their own control have no control. That is what it means. That is what it means. Your own control does not have any control.
I think this matter is a pretty simple matter.
It's a pretty simple.
And I don't think I don't think it should arise to we having this discussion here. No, I don't. I think it's something that we can. I think it's something that can be done internally. and I don't think it is, I mean, the council is of the view that the P6 form should be enough to can allow payment. Right? There is a difference of opinion as to whether or not the P6 form has to be accompanied by the diary.
No.
And I honestly, Mr. Lee, let us see if we can resolve this matter.
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
Yes. I am saying that on the part of persons who are doing it, it is out of malice.
Mr. Chairman, I am not willing to accept that, because all we're requiring of the officer is to write. The officer was provided with a diary. The officer has the diary. All we say, enter, make the entry in your diary and present it. And the officer is saying, no, I will not write it.
No, it's not in the rules. I'm abiding by the rules.
No, but you're looking at legal standards.
I am abiding by the rules.
That is legal. So what about professional standards?
I am abiding by the rules.
But that's on
All right. Mr. Lee, address the chair, please.
Yes, Chairman, I wouldn't say it is out of malice. But on the other hand, I do not believe that the diary is really necessary. I think as long as the traveling form is filled out, that is adequate, yes.
But the decision has been taken. So if a decision of council is taken, are you telling me a decision of the council is limited?
So we,
you're right.
And the decision that is taken by the council is in keeping with the directive in relation to traveling, contained in the Local Governance Act, contained in this directive from the Ministry of Finance. What else is there? What else is there? So what else would be keeping it up? Out of not wanting to comply with the decision of the council and being malicious.
Mr. Chairman, the Local Government Finance and Financial Management Act, since the council is relying on legal documents, it also says that in the management of its finance, the local authority shall employ accounting systems and standards adopted by the government of Jamaica. And all of these standards that we're talking about are standards that are issued to us from the Ministry of Local Government, from the auditing department of our ministry, and hence we are following these standards. If it is that the council wants us to deviate from these standards, then the only thing I would suggest, I would recommend, is that we send the matter to the ministry and have them make a determination as to whether or not we can waive this standard that has been issued and that we have been following for the past years, and the practices that we have been followed, professional practices. I will refer the matter to the...
No, but
could you allow me
the matter cannot be resolved. Yes, I mean...
Where is the standard that is issued that is outside of the directive from the Ministry of Finance? Where is it?
Well, all right. What I will
refer to the matter
for
determination.
Councillor Sinclair and Mr. Lee, what I will allow is that you seek further particulars, advice from the permanent
I will do that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And what I am going to ask for while you are doing that in the interim, is to carry out their due diligence in respect to what I say.
I don't know what you said.
That they, the administration, have paid to persons funds of the government that are not, persons who are not entitled to receive.
Mr. Chairman, is the first that allegation is coming to my knowledge.
But I am saying it here.
But I'll investigate.
I am saying it here, and I'm saying that you have to investigate.
I'll investigate.
And the matter will come back.
So you have two things to deal with, Mr. Lee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll investigate.
The first one, to seek further advice with the PS, and if it falls within what P4, the P6 form is saying, then you make payment, and then you do the investigation and read the others. Thank you. All right. Subdivision matters, please. Miss Cunningham, we have been having a good day, you know. The building matters?
Building. No, Mr. Chairman.
No building matters?
Resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
Resolution?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Go ahead.
Yes, Chairman. I have a resolution.
Yes.
Resolution calling on the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development to allocate funds to the Junior Council of the St. James Municipal Corporation, formerly the St. James Parish Council, for its project. Whereas the Junior Council of the St. James Municipal Corporation is interested in undertaking projects within the parish, and such endeavors require financing. And whereas the Junior Council has been proactive in drafting projects proposals for the 2017 to 2018 fiscal year for which they would volunteer, it is important that they are provided with the necessary resources to undertake their projects. Be it resolved that the sum of $500,000 be requested from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development to enable the Junior Council to undertake the project. Moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Vernon.
Okay. And this is as a continuation of that announcement that was made by the Minister, that Junior Council would be afforded $500,000. Okay, good. All right. A motion is on the floor. Ayes have it. Councillor Yum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution regarding membership of the Procurement Committee for the St. James Municipal Corporation presented to and passed at the regular monthly meeting of the corporation held on Thursday, December 14, 2017. Whereas there is a need for the St. James Municipal Corporation to establish Procurement Committee to oversee the proper administration of procurement of goods and services within the guidelines set by the relevant arm of government, and by doing so has named the following officers of the corporation to be members of that committee: Mr. Trevor Manning, Director of Planning, as the Chairman; Mr. Ricardo Roden, Director of Administration, as the Vice Chairman; Ms. Tamara Cunningham, Director of Finance, as a... Sorry? Tamara, please forgive me, ma'am. Ms. Tamara Cunningham, Director of Finance, member; Mr. Bryce Grant, Superintendent Roads and Works, as a member; Mrs. Sonia Simpson, Procurement Officer, as a member; Mr. Gregory Wint, Councillor, as a member; Mr. Anthony Murray, Councillor, as a member; Ms. Cassandra Watson, Executive Secretary, as a Recording Secretary. Be it resolved that the St. James Municipal Corporation in session today, December 14th, 2017, approves of the membership as named, and this is moved by myself.
Also, there is a resolution on the floor. Can I get a second?
I so move.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. That's motion. Is there any notice? Is there any notice or motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have two resolutions. One which was circulated. Whereas the urban center of the city of Montego has experienced severe flooding during periods of moderate and heavy rainfall. Whereas the urban center of the city of Montego and its environs have seen significant development, which has created more hard surfaces, resulting in increased surface runoff during rainfall. Whereas the drains and other infrastructure for the carrying of water from the increased surface runoff have not benefited from any major capital injection for many years. Whereas during the rainfall of November 22nd, 2017, the urban center of the city of Montego Bay experienced severe flooding, resulting in loss and damage to public and private property and infrastructure likely to exceed $1 billion. Whereas the advent of climate change is highly probable, with the advent of climate change, it is highly probable that such an occurrence may recur in a short period of time. Be it resolved that the St. James Municipal Corporation commission a study on the drainage system that serves the city of Montevideo and its environs to determine its effectiveness to minimize or avoid the recurrence of the flooding of November 22nd, 2017. And be it further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation for support. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Lynch, Arthur Lynch.
Resolution on the floor. All in favor? Aye. I think that resolution is very timely with what we have experienced in recent weeks, as also based on what I discussed with Mr. Mann earlier. So if everything could be looked at in a holistic way, because we cannot continue with what we now have for any much longer time. Thank you. Is there another one?
There's another one which I give notice of in last month's meeting. The resolution drafted is here today, and it goes as follows. Whereas the maintenance of roads in several parishes in Jamaica, to include the parish of St. James, are the responsibility of the local authorities, the National Works Agency, or rather, dependent on their classification as parochial roads, main roads, or farm roads, whereas 80% of the road network in Jamaica are parochial roads, while 19% are main roads and 1% farm roads, whereas local authorities operate municipal corporations in every parish, and each has a department described as the Road and Works Department headed by a Chief Engineering Officer, whereas the National Works Agency similarly operates an office in every parish throughout Jamaica, whereas the local authorities have proved themselves able to respond in a more timely manner to the need for maintenance and repairs to roadways within a parish, unlike the parish offices of the National Works Agency, whereas the government of Jamaica is in the process of conducting public sector rationalization and promoting debt reduction. Be it resolved that the St. James Municipal Corporation require the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, under whom the National Works Agency and local authorities fall respectively, to undertake a strategic review to determine the need for a National Works Agency to exist in every parish. And be it further resolved that from the same review, local authorities be made the public body to do road maintenance and repairs within a parish, whilst the National Works Agency be responsible for major road construction and other public works. Be it further resolved that the local authorities be resourced by receipt of all motor vehicle license fees and other fees and funding necessary for undertaking road maintenance and repairs. This is moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Everest School.
Motion is on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.
Okay, Mr. Chair, final resolution, which is from the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, and I'll just read it. It says, the resolution passed by the Clarendon Municipal Corporation at its Finance and Estate Management Committee meeting September 20, 2017. Whereas the electoral division covers wide geographical areas, making it difficult for the elected to serve without having access to a motor vehicle. And whereas councillors are first point of contact and responder when compared to other agencies in all aspects to the citizens of any given communities. And whereas there are expectations of councillors to be on a 24 hours per day call in responding to the needs of citizens, especially in disasters, and whereas councillors to be effective in providing services to his or her division properly, he or she must need a reliable motor vehicle that is well kept, but the current travel allowance is inadequate. And whereas councillors have traveled more miles than the present regulation allows for compensation to in each given month, councillors have incurred additional expenses due to bad roads, uneven road surface, and steep terrain, resulting in excess wear and tear and increase in maintenance costs, purchase fuel and spare parts for their own motor vehicle. Be it resolved that councillors be recognized as government-approved travelling officers who have been executing similar duties, and be further resolved that the motor vehicle allowance be replaced with motor vehicle upkeep and all other emolument enjoyed by the government approved for travelling officers. Be it further resolved that this resolution be circulated to the municipality and to the Ministry of Local Government for their support. It's moved by Councillor Banswell and seconded by Councillor Brown of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation. It's here for your support
Councillor,
or consideration.
you have heard that resolution from the Clarendon Municipality seeking, in other words, seeking to bring the councillors up to a state that they being a travelling officer, where they would be afforded upkeep as other government. I think this is something that we have already had a discussion on. So I'm not, any of you have, you heard the resolution? What is your take on the matter? How you wish for it to proceed? I've heard a resolution like this before. I've heard a resolution like this before. There's a very heated debate now taking place within the ministry as it relates to traveling by councillors. And if you so desire, we can probably get a copy of the resolution. We can note it. We get, so you, this is what I'm saying, is that let us get a copy, and then we can look at it, see exactly what it is saying, so we can defer it until next month. So Mr. Lee, could you please circulate a copy of that resolution so we can look at it. Notice of motion, is there any notice?
Mr. Chairman,
resolution.
Just giving the council notice of a resolution to furnish the corporation with articles of impeachment against one Councillor Michael Troop at our next meeting, our first yearly meeting in 2018.
Impeach? Nope.
Suspension. Suspension is an operative term. I'm sorry. Yes, suspension.
So like Donald Trump.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, do I have a, well, you don't have a second.
No, it's just a notice.
No, just a notice, yes. Councillor Vernon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This year has been a good year for governance, both at central government level and at the local government level. And I believe that central government is happy to have been complemented by an organization like St. James Municipal Corporation in its current form of dispensation.
Sorry, is it
It's a notice.
It's a notice.
Right.
Okay, good, thank you.
We are also, anticipating Vision 2030. And as it is popular said, Jamaica will be
place of choice to work, raise families, do business. But I have a burning issue, Mr. Chairman, because by 2030, which is approximately 13 years from now, many Jamaicans will be at this stage. But we are still not doing enough facilitation for some of those Jamaicans. And I speak now on behalf of those who inhabit the gully side. It is true that our government, Mr. Chairman, is working assiduously to improve the lives of its citizens. It is also a fact that during the course of this year, many assessments were done to improve the lives of persons within North Gully, Albion Lane, and the Canterbury communities. But it is more than just a problem at the local level, because it is, if you look at the international standards, it is a very big problem. And whilst UN Habitat and the United Nations are working together to ensure that the most important resource, which is that of human resources, put at the forefront of development, in Jamaica, as we aspire to gain economic development, that same human resource must be placed at the forefront. And therefore, if we continue to harbor the thought that rebuilding these areas as they are will rid us of the problem that they currently face, we would be backpedaling. What we need to look at is, and we need to look at it seriously. And I also want to use this opportunity to make a call to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation for a more proactive intervention in the communities that are built along the Gully Coast, in Montego Bay in particular. Because I believe these persons must be relocated. And our government is one government that stands by the whole phenomena of climate change. And given the current situation, the communities and the geography as is, if they are not relocated, it will be more expensive to mitigate the risk rather than to rebuild houses.
So the motion or notice of the resolution,
right,
is to bring a resolution
to the ministry,
to the council,
right,
to have these people removed from their existing place of abode and to be taken to be placed in some other area.
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. We are now on to new matters. There be no new matters. Let me use this occasion to...
Mr. Chairman, before you continue, this morning, there was a newscast which was on the radio, and there is this confirmation in the regular media, mainstream media, that spoke of a double murder that took place in Clarendon.
Oh, yes.
And the person who was murdered is a council caretaker for the Maypen East Division.
Okay.
and her son.
Wow.
Her name is Carol E. Banks, and her son is Jevan Miles
Carol Evans?
E. Banks. She was on her way home and was brutally murdered, something that we are experiencing in St. James with the high murder rate. Clarendon is another parish, I think, that is on the radar. And possibly if we were to look at Kingston, because they have the good fortune of being divided into divisions. So when you hear about Kingston, Kingston is doing worse than St. James actually. Kingston and St. Andrew. But it's divided into different divisions. But St. James is one police division. So it comes across sometimes that St. James is really doing worse than Kingston and St. Andrew when it is in fact not so. But back to the point, which is the unfortunate, untimely, and death of these two persons. And we are all local government practitioners. She aspired to be a local government representative, but didn't get to the winning post in time. But be that as it may, that's another issue. We must recognize her, obviously her contribution as an advocate, local government practitioner. And the fact of her death is something that I don't think we should conclude this meeting without making note of. And for this council, as persons who are practicing local government, that if we could forward condolences and sympathies to her family and all her colleagues. She was a member of the People's National Party, but when it comes on to crime, we can't say.
No, there's no difference.
There's no political colors involved. And her untimely death is obviously one of great concern. And so I'm asking this council, directed by you, if we could give a moment of silence and also to just send formally condolences to her family and immediate and her friends and her untimely passing.
Okay, well, I don't think I should even ask for a second for that. It is something that is gripping us right across the island, and Councillor Sinclair have expounded on the whole question of her involvement in local government, and so I would ask Mr. Lee to do the necessary correspondence as it relates to extending condolences to the family of the deceased through whatever organs of her political organization, as also as the councillor requested and that suggested, of which I am in agreement, shall we now stand for a minute's silence. May their soul rest in peace. There be no further new matters. This year has been a good year because the Lord has spared us to be still alive up to this point. We will be going into the Yuletide season, And I will extend a warm Christmas wishes to all. And I wish for all of us and our family and our friends and our constituents a very happy new year when it comes. And we look forward to another great year in 2018. Once again, thank you very much. Today we have a very special offer. So those of you who are here, we are inviting you to the table of supper. Thank you very much. This meeting stands adjourned. Nobody wants to move? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.